Hi everyone, it's Mike here from Guitar Prep School again, and today I'm going to show you the very first two chords that you need to learn as a beginner. Well, you don't need to learn them, but they are the two easiest ones for you to learn. Now, I'm assuming that if you're watching this video, you're probably at the very beginning stage of learning guitar. And the reason I've chosen these two chords is because they are only with two fingers, and the chord shapes are exactly the same as each other, but they're just on different strings. Alright, so first I'm going to take you through how to read a picture chord when it's up on the screen, so you understand that, and then we're going to have a go at these two chords. Now, if you're new to my channel, I've got two videos, the first things to learn on guitar, and there's part 1 and part 2. They're a little bit longer than my normal videos, but they do contain some very fundamental basic stuff that you need to be aware of and you need to know about right as soon as you start playing, so that you don't get into any bad habits and basically learn things the right way. Alright, so anyway, without further ado, hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss my next video, and let's do this. Okay, so the first chord we're going to learn is E minor, okay? And if you take a look at the picture chord that's just up on the screen there, let me just quickly explain that to you. You'll see now all the vertical lines going down are your strings, and from left to right they go from the thickest string to the thinnest string, okay, which is your 6th string and your 1st string. And the horizontal lines are your frets on the neck there. Alright, and the little circles with the numbers in them are your fingers. So we've got 1 and 2, finger 1 and finger 2, and it shows on the diagram which fret and which string to press down on. Now right at the top of the diagram, just above the nut there, if you look at the thicker bar on the top of the strings there, you will see some small little letter O's, and sometimes you'll see a letter X. Now the O's mean that any string that you're not pressing down, they still have to be played open. So you're playing the strings open if there's a little O on top of that string. If there's an X, then you don't play that string. So you have to somehow mute the string if you're not going to sound it. We'll cover that on when we do the second of these chords. So E minor, you take your first finger and you place it on the 5th string of the 2nd fret. Now just try and play that string, and that's what it should sound like. Alright, if it's sounding like this, then you're not pressing hard enough. Alright, so nice clear sound there. Now your next finger, your 2nd finger, goes on the next string down, which is the 4th string, in the same fret. With your 2nd finger, try and have it so that it's just behind the fret bar there, but not touching the fret bar, but just in by there, and have your 2 fingers snuggled up together, and try and use the very tips of your fingers there. Alright, if you just play those 2 strings, that's what it should sound like. Okay, if it's sounding like this, you need to press harder, and you need to make sure that your fingers here are bent, they're not straight like that. Have them bent so that your tips are touching the strings, and just move your wrist up slightly. That'll help clear the gap that's the underside of your finger here. If it touches the adjoining strings, it's going to mute the sound, and you don't want that. So you want all clear notes. So using the tips of your fingers and trying to make sure that the other parts of your fingers are not touching any other parts of the other strings. Alright, so okay, so you should have nice clear notes there. Alright, and just try and play each individual string to make sure you've got nice clear sounding notes on the strings that you're pressing down on. Now your fingers are going to start hurting pretty quick. You're going to start getting you're going to get some lines, some indentations on your fingers, alright? Don't worry about them. Now, your fingers are probably very, very soft because you've never played guitar before, or you're very early in your guitar days, and you need your fingers to get used to pressing down on the strings, and they need to start hardening up a bit. Alright? You will develop calluses. Alright? Nothing to be concerned about. But the more you practice, then the more your fingers will get used to playing it, and you'll no longer feel that pain. It's just a learning curve that every beginner has to go through. And there's no solution other than practice, 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 practice. Alright? But don't practice for too long in the early stages, right? Just small little bite-sized chunks. You know, give yourself 10 minutes or even 5 minutes. If your hand starts to hurt, just stop for a few minutes. Alright? Give yourself a rest. And small little chunks, but regular chunks. Right? Right? Much better for you to do 10 5-minute sessions than one 1-hour session. Alright? So that's your first chord, E minor. Now, the next chord we're going to do is Asus. And if you look at the diagram, it's exactly the same shape. We're just moving our 2 fingers down. We're keeping them in the same position, but we're moving them down to the next 2 strings. Alright, so your first finger is on the 4th string of the 2nd fret, and your second finger is on the 3rd string of the 2nd fret. Alright, so again, they're huddled up together, nice and close, and you're just behind the fret bar there with your second finger, and you're using the tips of your fingers, and you're making sure that your fingers are nice and bent, and your wrist is not too far down, so that your inside of your fingers are not touching the other parts of the other strings there. Alright, so nice and clear notes. If you play those 2 strings first that you're pressing, see if they're clear. See a little bit of buzz in there, so press down a bit harder. If you get a little bit of buzz in like that, you're not pressing hard enough. Right? And then that second string needs to be clear like that. If it's sounding like this, then it means the underside of your second finger is slightly leaning against it, so it needs to be clear. Okay, alright, so now when we play this chord, we need to play it from the A string, which is the 5th string. Alright, because the A is the root note of the chord, because it's an A chord, it's an A-sus chord. Alright, so we play from the 5th string, which is the A string. Okay. So we don't play, if you look at the diagram, there's a little X above the 6th string, which means we don't play the 6th string. So how do we mute it? Now, this could be very difficult now for you as a beginner, because you could try and use your thumb by just touching the 6th string, not pressing with the thumb, but just leaning against it slightly so that you get that sort of sound. This is where you want the muted sound. Okay? You don't want the muted sound underneath your second finger touching the adjoining string there. So this is probably one of the hardest things to overcome when you're first starting. Alright? Even though these are easy chords, there are things going on around those chords that you need to obviously try and get right. Right? If you're a bit concerned about muting the A string because it's making your wrist sort of slightly go lower down, which means that you're accidentally muting the other strings, then forget about muting the E string. Just try and play from the A string. Alright? So just try and play from the A string. Alright? Because if you sound the E string, it's a bit sort of muddy. It doesn't go with the chord. It doesn't go with the chord, see? So if you go from the A, okay, but But if you want to have a go at muting the E string with your thumb, you just touch it slightly, and then you can strum to your heart's content, and you get the sound of the chords nice and clean. Alright? Honestly, this is the hardest bit to learn when you're first starting off, is getting those notes clear and making sure your hand is in the right position. As you move on, you'll notice that some chords, you know, even though you're not conscious of it, your thumb is going to end up in different positions behind the neck and on top of the neck, or even your wrist will change positions without you realizing it. It depends on the chord you're playing. But at this particular stage, you have to develop the muscles in your fingers. You have to develop the ability to move your fingers from one place to the next. And you have to develop the ability to do that on time as well. Alright? It will all come with practice. Practice. But anyway, let's have a go at strumming those two chords. We'll do 4 beats on the one chord, and we'll do 4 beats on the other chord. Alright? Strums. We call them strums for now. We're just going to do 4 strums on the E minor and 4 strums on the A minor. Alright? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. E minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. Asus. 2, 3, 4. Alright? Now, if you're wondering what song can you play with those 2 chords, well, there is a song you can play. It's a song by one of my favourite bands, Pink Floyd, and it's Breathe from The Dark Side of the Moon. Alright? Now, you'll only be able to play the verse with just those 2 chords, but at least it's something you can get on with, if you like Pink Floyd. But it's a starting point, and if you check out one of my playlists, is Easy Songs for Beginners, you'll find plenty of other chords on there that I go through the songs and get you to play along with the songs, and the chords are all up on the screen, so you can find other chords on my other videos for you to sort of be getting on with. But don't try and run before you can walk. Try and master those 2 chords first, and get your fingers to change in time with each other. Alright, and don't forget, as soon as your hand starts to hurt, just take a breather, have a bit of a rest, and just make your practice sessions regular. Make it a habit to pick up your guitar every day. Alright? So, I hope this lesson has been useful for you. Please subscribe to my channel. Please hit that like and subscribe button. And hit that bell so you don't miss my future videos. And I'll see you all again next time. Keep practicing. All the best.